Hello guys, we're back again with another Can't Fear Your Own World video. In this video we're going to continue the part 3 of the chapter of the light novel. So without further ado, let's start the video. When Shino knit her eyebrows together in discomfort at the voice that was streaming out from the propaganda vehicle-like thing, Mizuru answered that question. It's an emerging religious cult that was recently born. Because of the lengthy earthquake we had half a year ago, it sparked a considerable amount of disorder around the world. The lengthy earthquake. This had occurred because of the fact that during the course of the war between the Shinigami and the Quincies, the Soul King had perished, and as a result the boundaries between Soul Society, the human world and Hueco Mundo began to collapse. It was completely different from the geological system so far due to the extraordinarily long earthquake that occurred for reasons that cannot be explained by science. The world was gradually being wrapped in deep anxiety to no ends. Many people had premonitions. One could say they smelled danger. They wondered if this meant that some mighty force had encircled this world, defying science and conventional common knowledge. It was dealt with publicly as a large-scale deformation of the Earth's crust that was not present in our previous data. At present the cause is under investigation, however that alone was not enough to eliminate the anxiety that was born in people's minds. As a result, religious people who sought answers themselves, or those who tried to take advantage of people's anxieties, founded new religions one after another. Good and evil was jumbled together, and chaos had slowly spread throughout the world. Currently, amongst those religious faiths, there is a particularly influential one. It is the same group that was distributing its doctrine with a propaganda vehicle just a moment ago. Trying to supplement the subject Mizuru had brought up, Kigo talks about the information he himself knows with serious eyes. They say, the founder of that religious sect can truly make things like miracles happen. And most importantly, it was rumored that the founder is a sister with a nice body and a considerably beautiful woman. That founding sister came to encourage me directly about how a truly ideal world should be. Listening to that, Shino's eyes became half closed as she asked Mizuru a question. Hey, can I beat this guy up? I think that's fine. Watching as Mizuru nods, Ryanosuke also poses a question, feeling some doubts himself. All that out of the way, what is the name? The name of that new religious group? Right. If I remember correctly, the name of that group was Human World. Inside a certain multi-floor company building, President's office. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk with you this time. President Voralberna. The woman who is ushered into the simple black-themed room respectfully bows her head to the young boy who was seated on a sofa playing on his handheld gaming device. The woman was wearing a style of suit that gave off a flirtatious impression, and although it had nothing to do with her actual attire, it was her very being that would somehow make any observer sense the mystical seductiveness about her. However, without even turning his eyes to such a woman, the young boy that was referred to as Voralberna continued to play around with his gaming device whilst crafting his words in an uninterested manner. Enough of your barefaced greetings. What are your objectives? Addressing the boy, Yukio Hans Voralberna, who had asked that question, the woman answered courteously. Dear me. My one and only purpose here is to meet with President Voralberna, representative of Y Hans Enterprise, who is promised to be a victor of the future by fate. Young, talented people like yourself have the power to lead everybody into the future. As a guide that will pave the way to a righteous world, I would like to have your allegiance to our creed. Y Hans Enterprise. It is a corporation owned by Yukio and a large company that is currently expanding its business with enough force to knock down birds in flight. He obtained the company by seizing control of it from his father and thought it was not worth worrying about, but after going through conflict with Kurosaki Ichigo and the Shinigami, it was now one of his objectives in life is to expand that company. In the future, it is his aim to construct fertile grounds that accept stray people who are fellow Fullbringers like himself. Actually, even at this stage, Dokugaman Raruka was part of the company as a cooperative worker, and although it was earlier than planned, it was through her that he was also able to call out to Jackie Tristan. That young company president that had a hidden identity as a Fullbringer, in a cold manner, and for the second time, questioned the woman who was enticed into his multi-floor company building. Do I look like the type that would keep company with someone who gives such a farcical response? Would it be better for me to outright tell you that I want a donation as a collateral in exchange for slaving away to expand your business? That is also a farce. That is not your people's intention now, is it? Unfazed, and as if reading her like a book, Yukio continued to talk in a manner that was not dissimilar to muttering to himself. He then parted one hand away from his gaming device, taking his business card out of his pocket and placing it on the tabletop. Looking somewhat ill-humored, he opened his mouth to speak to the woman. Although it has been on my mind for a while, by you coming here today I was assured from this point, you will not be given a chance to retry. I think it's better you answer me honestly. Taking it as an opportunity to make an appointment, a single business card was handed over to Yukio. As he glared at the name of the organization that was written there, Yukio asked her again. You people, what are your objectives? On that business card, the name of the woman is also written down with monotone characters. For Yukio, both names could by no means be overlooked. Religious Corporation, Xcution Representative, Michibane Aura. At Hueco Mundo. 6 months since the protection of the Soul King Great War. Even in Hueco Mundo, the world of the Hollows headed by the Arankar, a gradual change is occurring. After the Arankar hunt by the Quincy of the Wandenreich came to an end, powerful Arankars such as Harrible and Grimjo had disappeared, a new period of civil unrest was about to be ushered in. However, as Neliel, whose whereabouts had been unknown thus far, suddenly returned accompanied by Harrible, the ambitions of the Arankar and Vasto Lord A-class Minos Grande were instantly met with disappointment and they retreated back to their respective colonies as a result. Several Arankar launched surprise attacks on Neliel and Harrible, thinking surely they're exhausted now, however most of them were beaten at their own game, and even those who had managed to escape were sent sinking to the ground, unlucky enough to bump into Grimjo who was in a foul mood. In a corner of Hueco Mundo which was in the gradual process of restoring its peace from such a return of the leader, a man wearing a mask resembling a bull's skull released a sigh. That was a brief dream, huh? Rudburn Chelyut. He is an Arankar that was once the leader of the Exequias directly under Aizen, and he is the man that continued to manage Las Noches alone in Hueco Mundo after Aizen's departure. After all, for a weak person like myself to dream of such things, wasn't the very idea itself presumptuous? He is also one of the Arankar that tried to unify Hueco Mundo after Harrible's disappearance. Rudburn still felt an obligation to Aizen and was attempting to defend the new order as much as possible in its original form, created after that leader seized control of Hueco Mundo from Baragan. In addition to the likes of the Tres Bestias and the Espada, there are also several other Arankars that are stronger than him. However, without having any interest in governance to begin with, they did not participate in a succession dispute. It could be said that it was Rudburn alone that tried to fight for hegemony, considering that very order itself as the #1 priority. It's not that he was without ambition. He could not deny that he had dreamed of a day where he would eventually develop Hueco Mundo himself and be worthy of being acknowledged by Aizen as a being that was a cut above the rest like the Espada. Although he had heard that Aizen had quite literally cut down and cast away Harrible, as well as leaving behind words of disappointment with the Espada, if Aizen had returned to this place at the time, he wished to communicate that he had accomplished something with the powers he had received from Aizen. Even if he would be astounded thinking the results were unfavorable and then cut him down on the spot, it was no matter. And now, as before, for the sake of protecting Hueco Mundo's order, he was battling the Quincies. Dear me, I didn't expect that there would still be Quincy survivors left. Half a year ago, the Quincy who captured Harrible later deployed a unit called Jagdermi throughout Hueco Mundo to conduct Arankar hunts in every place. After the executive captain of the Jagdermi Quilje is defeated by Ichigo and Grimjo's group, the majority of those separated units were left behind in Hueco Mundo. It was those Quincies that put up a do-or-die resistance which took various forms for each unit from desperate suicide attacks to guerrilla warfare, however most of them were annihilated at the hands of the Exequias led by Rudburn. There had been no movement for several months since then, so just when he thought their extermination was complete, he received eyewitness reports of Quincies going on the offensive. Truly disappointing indeed. The Picaro are disobedient as usual, and I hear they frequently go to the human world with Roka. And even now Grimjo-sama refuses to give his cooperation to establish rule in Hueco Mundo. If things continue like this, I wonder if order could genuinely be brought about someday. Rudburn shakes his head at his own shortcomings, but as he uttered such things, coming towards his observation spot, a voice of protest is raised against him. Hey! Don't sigh, you also have to fight for yourself once in a while. It's not just about pushing the job to us and the small fry you create every time. Forget it, Loli. Even talking about it is pointless. The Arankar with the twin ponytails who was talking smack, Loli Avern, is rebuked by an Arankar with a short-cut hairstyle, Minoli Malia. When they were discovered on the verge of death, after battling with Quilje, they were transported to Las Noches, where they were left in the care of Rudburn. Soon after that, they were dragged into acting as members of the Exequias to gradually match the fighting power of the Quincies, but because they are not under the direct supervision of Rudburn, they failed to reach an understanding in any way whatsoever. No, I will say it. Anyway, Rudburn. Where were you when Harable Sama was kidnapped? You were not even there when that guy called Quill Jake came. Since the invasion began in various places at the same time, someone had to cause an obstruction in each location, that's all. And while we're on the subject, when Aizen Sama was defeated by Kurosaki Ichigo, we could not have rivaled anyone who was already at his side. You have a comeback for every remark, at Loli's complaint. Rudburn releases a sigh, whilst shaking his head. You two are inexperienced, but because you still have respect for Aizen Sama, in this way, you were able to join my troops. Because under normal circumstances, disturbing the existence of order with mere presence like your own is truly unbefitting of Wako Mundo. Huh, what am I disturbing just with my presence? Forget about it. Let go of me, Minoli. That guy acts like he's better than everyone else, but what do you think he was doing when the Shinigami attacked this place? A passing Yami socked him so hard he was practically on the verge of death, isn't that so? Since that also happened to us. Minoli tugs back Loli's arm to keep her at a distance from Rudburn. Veins were visibly throbbing on her forehead, and even as she was released from Minoli's grip, she attempted to complain some more, however a single streak of light passed by before her eyes. That bullet of light pierced a boulder located a fair distance away from Rudburn and the others. Part of the large boulder is hollowed out, as if it had been bitten off by something with a huge set of jaws. And this is where we end the video. What is that bullet of light that attacked the Orankers? Let's find out on the part 4 of this chapter.